Hi, everyone. This is Bethany, nurse with Veritas, and I am here to present to you a presentation I did a few weeks back called The Perfect Diet. So I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this, and thank you for being members with Veritas and supporting us, investing in us, and investing in your health. So to start off, I just wanted to take a minute and just introduce myself. I know many of you, some of you I don't know. So my name is Bethany and I'm a nurse. I graduated nursing school from 4Cs in 2012 and my bachelor's I received from UMass Dartmouth in 2016. I started working with Dr. Arnold 11 years ago. I spent the majority of my nursing career working with him. I started working with him back when Mac was still Emerald Physicians, and we were working in the West Yarmouth office at that time. I'm currently doing nurse coach training with the Integrative Nurse Coach Academy, and I'll be graduating soon. And then I'll be sitting for 2 board certifications to become a holistic nurse and nurse coach. And I am very much looking forward to offering these services with Veritas in the future. I'm also a mom. I have 3 small children. I have an almost 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an almost 2-year-old. And I'm really passionate about using lifestyle to increase vitality and health span. So today we're going to start with talking about nutrition. And let's start off with a pop quiz. So which is healthier, this or that? And it's not a trick question. If you answered that, you would be correct. It's the sandwich over on the right-hand side. It's got some whole grain bread. It's got lots of veggies in it. It's got some grilled chicken. Whereas opposed to the burger over here, which has really high in saturated fat burger with a lot of cheese on it, as well as a white bun, fries, high sugar ketchup. And so it seems kind of obvious to many of us, and I just want to point that out, that you and we all have this innate wisdom about nutrition. And I want you to really just lean into that inner wisdom that our bodies have. Our bodies know what's good for us. And if we just can really take a moment to appreciate that and trust that process as we just go through with this learning process, and as you take what you learn and use it in your day-to-day life. So. All right, diet, the perfect diet. Who doesn't feel confused by the overwhelming amount of diet info out there, right? The weight loss industry in the US is worth $60 billion and 5 million diet books are sold every year. Some diets seem completely contradictory to each other. There's the plant-based diet, all plants, high carb, low fat. And then there's the ketogenic diet. It's really popular right now. It's really low carb. It's high in fat. And there's lots and lots of animal products. How are we supposed to know what to do with all this information? A lot of us just throw our hands up in the air and just whatever I think is healthy today, someone's probably going to tell me it's unhealthy tomorrow. So why even bother, right? What we really want is a pill. And if you can't have that, you want a diet that's the functional equivalent of a pill, right? We want it to be simple, tidy, neat, certain. Just tell me what to eat and when to eat it. That's not what I'm offering here in this presentation. But I do hope to just give you some baseline knowledge. Well, wait a minute, Bethany. What about the new weight loss medications, right? Like there's Wegovy, there's Ozempic, Mounjaro, semaglutide. You guys are offering semaglutide here at Veritas. Yes, we are. These meds are expensive. A lot of them are on shortage or back order. We do have it here at the clinic as a once-a-week injectable that you currently have to come into the office for to get that. So that's kind of inconvenient. And a lot of times studies have shown that when these medications are stopped, people do tend to gain that weight back. But these meds do work. They can be helpful tools, I do think. We have a food culture that we've never really had to battle before in our species as human beings, right? Like there's so much GMO products and chemical additives and just these high fat, really super palatable foods that we have to contend with every single day. And so I do think that having this new science and these medications is appropriate, just because we do sometimes need that extra tool to help us in this really difficult food climate that we're in. But I don't think that they're the first step, and I don't think they're the end all and be all. I really think that lifestyle changes need to be the foundation of any sort of weight loss journey that you're on, starting off with changes to your diet, changes to your exercise routine, and stress reduction. Those are the 3 most important things that you can do for your weight loss. So today we're going to focus on nutrition steps and mindset today. If you're wondering about weight loss medications, definitely talk to your provider here and see if that's appropriate for you. It's not for everybody, but it can be a helpful tool. But right now I want you to focus on nutrition as kind of the cornerstone foundation for what we're trying to achieve here today, which is increasing our vitality and our health span, just making ourselves healthier human beings. All right, so there's a lot of diets out there. There's the plant-based diet, which we touched on. There's the ketogenic diet, which we touched on. There's paleo diet, right? They're saying that we should only be eating foods that were in the Paleolithic era. Supposedly, they only ate foods that were hunted and gathered. So that would be fruits and veggies and lean meats, fish, nuts, seeds, no grains, no legumes, no dairy. And this diet says our genes aren't well adjusted for modern farming diets, and that's our problem. There's the Mediterranean diet. It's mostly plants. It's moderate in dairy, poultry, eggs, and seafood, rare red meat. And it seems to have a lot of cardiovascular benefits. And then there's Weight Watchers. This is a really popular diet, right? They assign point values to your foods and you track your points and you try to stay below a preset goal. Fruits and veggies are usually 0 points. And I feel like overall it does teach some smart choices. And those are just kind of the most popular diets that I talk about with clients. And how do you choose? How do you know which one is for you, what you should be doing, right? We're all so different. And there are so many other diets out there. So what I encourage people to do is take a step back and let's look at what is the common thread behind all of these diets. What do they all have in common and are all trying to convey to us? So the first thing is that they all seem to say, eat your vegetables, right? Hands down. Weight Watchers vegetables are 0 points. Mediterranean high-end veggies, ketogenic, they really stress those low carb veggies, plant-based diets, basically all veggies. Veggies are super important. They all have less processed foods and they all have less sugar in them. So if you can kind of look through these diets, like these are sort of the 3 main points that they all tend to have in common. And the rest is just kind of like window dressing, in my opinion. So where should we start, right? We want to focus, I think, on adding rather than subtracting from our current diet. Excuse me. So when we're focusing on adding, we're kind of crowding out some of the bad or unhealthy food that we could be choosing instead. And I like to focus on adding because I feel like our brain doesn't really hear the negatives. When we set a rule for ourselves, say I set a rule, I'm not having cake. Not having cake ever again. Nope. Well, what our brain hears when we say I am not having cake is I'm having cake. It's like that negative just gets totally erased and our brain just hears I eat cake, I eat cake, I eat cake. And suddenly that's all we can think about and that's all we want and we're craving it. And it's just this weird feedback loop that our brains do. And I think we should be aware of that and let's work with our brains. And so if we're focusing on adding, we're not going to be focused on all those foods that we can't have or that were, against our food rules. And instead, we're just focusing on how many fruits and vegetables can I add into my diet and really just crowd it out so I have less room for some of those other unhealthier choices. So the top 3 things I would encourage people to focus on adding would be vegetables, number 1, fruit, number 2, and just getting more fiber in general. Those would be the top 3 things that I would really want people to just focus on adding into their diet. So fruits and veggies, right? The benefits of fruits and veggies, everyone knows they're good for you. They lower our risk of heart disease and stroke. They lower blood pressure. They help lower our risk of diabetes, protect against cancer. They can help with weight loss. They're really good for our gut health and they're good for our vision too. Like there are just so many body processes that really benefit from fruits and veggies. And I really just can't state that enough, that fruits and veggies are so important to get into our diet. Okay, so I have another pop quiz for you guys. Which of these plates, both plates are 660 calories, which one has more fiber in it? All right, so plate B, right, the one on the right. So plate A has 1.8 grams of fiber, versus plate B has 10.2 grams of fiber. Fiber is filling and takes up space in the stomach. The benefits of fiber cannot be overstated. It is going to be really important for weight loss goals and just really important for our health in general. So some of the health benefits of fiber, it's really good for our hearts, right? It helps lower our cholesterol, lower our blood pressure, lower our blood sugar, and it helps with weight loss too. It's really, really good for our gut health. So fiber feeds that good bacteria in our guts. It helps add bulk to stool to ease constipation. So things just move through the colon easily. And it helps reduce diverticular disease, right? Those little pockets, pouches on the colon, and then colon polyps and colon cancer. So having fiber just helps to move things along. They're less likely to sit in the colon and cause trouble. It can also help to reduce our risk of breast cancer too. There are studies that showed that women who had a high fiber diet had a lesser risk of breast cancer, which is amazing. And I want to circle back to the feeding the good bacteria in the gut. So kind of interesting that the good bacteria in our gut, those microbiome, they really feed and thrive on fiber. And if we don't give those good bacteria enough fiber, they will turn inwards and they will start to eat at the inner lining of our colons called the mucin layer. And they will start to feed and eat on those. And that can lead to leaky gut, which causes systemic inflammation and can be a big cause of chronic pain and weight gain and a whole host of other things. So fiber is just, like I said, I can't overstate it. Fiber is super important. Whether you get your fiber from fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds, like basically nature's foods have a lot of fiber in them. You could also supplement your fiber intake with a supplement, and that is also beneficial too. Studies have shown that it can help with things like weight loss, even just getting fiber as a supplement form. So a good goal, it would be 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. And I would say if you're not having any fiber, if you're not getting anywhere close to that, you would want to ramp up slowly because you don't want to overwhelm your digestive system and cause yourself digestive discomfort and then think, oh, fiber is the worst. It's not for me because I'm just so gassy and bloated or whatever. Work your way up slowly and your gut will thank you. The food that you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. And I just want you to sit on that for a minute. What we eat is so important. Okay, so I mentioned the first common thread was that all the diets seem to have more vegetables in them, right? And then I went on to say that fruits and veggies are super important. The other common thread was that they cut back on processed foods. Okay, so if I am trying to get people to get out of that subtracting mindset and not setting themselves like these strict food rules, so that means that we're going to try to increase whole foods. So what's a whole food? Nothing bad is added. I take this from Dr. Michael Greger. He says a whole food is when nothing bad is added and nothing good is taken away. So there's no extra sugar, there's no artificial ingredients or food coloring or oils in the food, and nothing good has been taken away. It still has that fiber, those vitamins, those minerals, those phytonutrients. It's as close to Mother Nature's packaging as you can get. So when you're looking at this picture over here, the good carbs versus the bad carbs, the ones that tend to be lower on that glycemic index, which means that they are lower, slower and lower to spike your blood sugar. Those ones tend to be the ones that are closest to Mother Nature's packaging, right? The vegetables, the fruits, maybe some homemade whole grain bread or oats. Whereas the things on the bottom that have a high glycemic index, they tend to have a lot of added sugars and oils and food colorings and are just very refined. They don't have that fiber. They don't have those vitamins and minerals. So that's the difference there, is really trying to increase the whole foods in your diet. And that'll just crowd out so that way you're not as hungry for those processed foods. So If it came from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. All right. So we also want to cut back on sugar too, or beware of our sugar intake. In general, if we aim for less than 25 grams a day, or we can start with cutting our intake in half, whatever kind of feels more doable to you, right? We want to just start low and slow and work our way up. But just an example, 1 teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams. So I went and looked at 12-ounce can of soda at 39 grams of sugar. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar in that one drink. And you don't even really get full after that drink, but you've already had all that sugar. So more than your day's allotment of sugar in that one drink. I'm not a huge fan of counting calories and counting grams of how much food I'm eating. I really do want people to start to learn to just be intuitive about their food intake. But an easy thing to do is to just look at the label of the food and just look where the sugar content is. It'll tell you the percent of the daily value of your sugar of the sugar that's in that food. And so if it's a 5% DV or less of added sugar, that's a pretty low sugar food. You can feel pretty comfortable selecting that food. If it's 20% DV or higher, that's a high sugar food, and you should just automatically really be putting that back on the shelf and trying to replace it with something that's a healthier choice that's closer to that 5%. And just beware of the health halo. So much of the food advertising on there, they advertise things like they're whole grain or they have fiber in them or antioxidants. But if you look at the label, they're still really high in sugar. So just beware of that health halo. And just because the food manufacturer is trying to tell you that it's healthy, when you look at the labels, you can see that actually they're lying to you and it's not that healthy. And I feel like I don't need to go through and tell everyone all the reasons why sugar is not the greatest, right? We all know it's empty calories. It's a factor in leading to type 2 diabetes and affects our cholesterol levels, and it's a contributor to obesity. So it is just something to be mindful of, and just looking at that food label, and if it's 20% or higher, just automatically put that back and go find something else, preferably something that doesn't have a food label. Okay, so first time I gave this presentation, one of the questions I automatically got back was, well, what if I don't like vegetables? And honestly, that's a big deal, right? Telling people that I want the majority of your diet to be vegetables, and if you don't like them, you might feel helpless and just like, well, okay, I guess I'm never going to lose weight. I'm never going to be healthy because I don't like veggies. Okay, so there are some strategies that you can use to try to boost your veggie intake, right? We want to start small. You don't have to overhaul your diet all at once. Take small steps. So here's some strategies, right? You can start with some of the less bitter foods: bell peppers, carrots, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, cucumbers, tomatoes. Those tend to be a little bit more palatable than some of the other ones like Brussels sprouts, say, right? Pair them with foods you already like. Adding a tomato to a burger, adding veggies to an omelet. Cut them thin, cut them small, and just ease your way in. So that way you're just like really easing your way into getting used to that texture and taste in there. And speaking of textures, try different textures. Try them raw, try them shredded, try them roasted, try them stir fried. If you don't like them one way, maybe you'll like them another way. If you really can't stand it, you can use a blender, right? You can make soups and you can just puree them. And you can add them to smoothies, right? Adding some spinach, some celery, some carrots. You can add a lot of veggies to smoothies, especially those like less bitter ones. And you can't even taste them, and you're just kind of sneaking them in that way. And then try again. It takes multiple tries, but our taste buds can change. And so just continuously exposing yourself to those foods, and you might eventually find that you have acquired a taste for them. There are also other healthy options too, that I haven't talked about yet. So increasing your lean protein intake: chicken, turkey, fish. If you're vegetarian, staying away from meat. Nuts and seeds, beans and legumes are really good sources of just lean protein intake. Lean protein and healthy fats, which I'm talking about next, are really good for helping with just satiety and just that overall not feeling hungry and craving foods if you're getting good lean proteins, healthy fats. good vitamins and minerals from all those fruits and veggies we talked about, you are going to find that you'll be craving less and less often those unhealthy foods that you do want to avoid. Healthy fats, so salmon, again, nuts and seeds, extra virgin olive oil, avocados are a really good source of healthy fats and fiber. Olives, dark chocolate, if you want to stay above like the 70% cacao dark chocolate, but that can be a nice way to help ease your sweet tooth and get a good healthy fat in too, as well as some antioxidants. So I've touched on this a couple of times throughout the presentation, is we don't have to be perfect, and we shouldn't be overhauling everything all at once. I don't tell people to go into their kitchens and do a kitchen sweep and get rid of all the food that's in their cupboard and replace it with new healthy food. I want you to start small. Something is better than nothing, and work your way up. That's the only way that these lifestyle changes are going to stick, is if we just do them incrementally. So start with one meal a week and find a way to add fruits or veggies or fiber into one meal. Maybe it's breakfast. How can I get some fruits and veggies or more fiber into my breakfast? And then add, okay, how can I do that with lunch? And then how can I do that with dinner, right? Just do it until it becomes easy, and then go to that next step. Maybe you could find a way to swap out a processed carb or high sugar food with something else. So some days you might have your best day ever. Every meal might be healthy and you just might be thinking, yes, I am on it. This is awesome. And then something unexpected comes up, and it might just be not your best day, right? I have an example. We were going to be making turkey chili for dinner, and went to make the ground turkey, and it was bad and I had to throw it away. And suddenly we had no dinner options. That was the only thing we had planned. So I had to reach into the freezer and get this freezer burned shepherd's pie, high in sodium, high in fat, high in carbs, all the things that I'm telling us not to eat. And I just felt like such a failure. But I literally thought of this good, better, best analogy, and I made it good, and I added a side salad. And you know what? That frozen dinner was actually pretty gross, and I ended up not eating it, and I had that side salad instead for my dinner. It was not my best meal. It was not my best day, but I still did make a choice to make it good. So even if you think you've blown it, even if you think, oh my gosh, like I already just went way against what I'm trying to do, if there's one more choice that you can make that day, make that choice a good choice. Make it a good day. Another Michael Pollan quote: eat slowly with other people whenever possible and always with pleasure. So another mindset piece on nutrition is eating mindfully. Distracted eating leads to unhealthy food choices and overeating. So we want to avoid eating on the go or while watching TV or while working. And I know that's hard for so many of us, myself included. But if we can go back to that good, better, best analogy, is there one meal that you could maybe just be a little bit more mindful of? When I talked earlier about, like, our bodies know what is healthy, our body knows what it needs. And so often the packaged and processed foods have just kind of overtaken our taste buds, and just, we're basically addicted to them, right? And so when we start to swap out these more healthful foods and get into a more holistic, wholesome diet, and we take the time to listen to those signals that our body is sending us when we're eating these foods, we might learn something about ourselves and what our body is telling us about when we're actually full, when we're actually hungry, and how we're enjoying a meal. Mindless, distracted eating is associated with weight gain, with overeating, with anxiety. So it's important to eat mindfully. And so what does that mean? Just really taking a moment to just focus on your eating experience, the foods that you're eating. What does it taste like? What are the textures that you're experiencing while you're eating? What does it smell like? What are your thoughts and feelings about the food? Am I feeling guilty about this? Am I feeling good about this? Just heightening your awareness around it. And above all, just not judging yourself. So what to eat, why we eat what we eat, how much we're eating, how we're eating. Overall, mindful eating is associated with decreased emotional eating, decrease in binge eating, weight loss, choosing healthier foods, choosing smaller portion sizes. And it doesn't have to be this big, slow, drawn out process. If you could just stay quiet for even 30 seconds, a minute while you're eating and just notice what you're eating instead of just inhaling it while we're working or watching TV or whatever. You'll find that your portion sizes will be smaller. You'll enjoy your food more. And you might just notice subtle nuances. So, all right, I'm pretty sure this is my last Michael Pollan quote. But basically, my presentation dials down to eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And I want to leave you with some goal setting. So, I talked a lot about adding things slowly into our diet and lifestyle, making just small sustainable changes that can stack up on each other. If you want to start SMART goals, start with the SMART goal specific. Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Is it time based? A lot of us have heard about this before. A SMART goal that I might recommend is I am going to add a vegetable to my breakfast every day this week, and then just see how that goes at the end of the week. Did I hit that goal? Did I not hit that goal? And not judging it, but just what can I learn from it and move on from there. So based on what we've been discussing, I encourage you to think about what might your next steps be towards achieving your goal. And what's the first step that you can take? What resources do you need? What are some possible outcomes? How might you feel? How maybe you lose weight? Maybe we could get off some blood pressure medications or diabetes medication. Those might be some long-term goals that you have. And that might seem to some of us like it's a really far ways away. So setting up these small, SMART goals, just these little baby steps to get us there, and then just celebrating those successes and those wins and just continuing to move on and build upon that from there, can be really an amazing journey and experience. So I am very excited to be offering nurse coaching services once I graduate, and you will be hearing details about that. We'll be sending emails out and Facebook posts and everything. I'm really excited to start to share these services with you guys. And I just want to thank you all so much for your support and for watching this. And I hope to see you guys soon, and I'll work with you all in the future. All right, have a good day. Bye.